cracks beneath the surface. Emma married Daniel when she was 26. She was a high school literature teacher, sharp, thoughtful, passionate about poetry. He was a software engineer, quiet, practical, dependable. Their friends often described them as the perfect match. They shared similar tastes in music, had a love for weekend hikes, and spent Sunday mornings reading in bed with coffee between them. For the first few years, everything felt just right. Their apartment slowly filled with books, travel souvenirs, and the rhythm of shared life. Arguments were rare, usually ending in soft laughter or long conversations under warm kitchen lights. But somewhere around their 7th year of marriage, the air began to shift. It was subtle at first. Daniel started staying late at work more often. When he was home, his mind was elsewhere. He'd scroll through his phone while Emma talked, nodding at the right moments but never quite hearing her. When she asked what was wrong, he'd smile. That tired, rehearsed smile, and say, "Just tired, Em. Work's been a lot lately." Emma knew something was missing, though she couldn't name it at first. It wasn't about sex or routine or even affection. It was a kind of quiet absence, as if someone had slowly turned the volume down on their relationship until all that remained was background noise. Then came Alex. He was a fellow teacher, newly transferred from another school. Charismatic, funny, and a little rough around the edges. He noticed things, how Emma twisted her ring when she was nervous, how her eyes lit up when she talked about a book she loved. They started talking after class. Just conversations. Then coffee. Then long walks home when it rained. One evening, after grading papers in the empty staff room, their hands brushed. A look lingered too long. A silence held too much weight. And it happened. Once. Then again. Emma told herself it was a mistake. Then she told herself it was a need. A way to feel alive again, seen again. With Alex, she felt present, like she still mattered in a world that had slowly begun to forget her. Daniel didn't ask. But he noticed. He wasn't oblivious. Just quiet. He watched her from across the dinner table one evening as she laughed at something on her phone, a laugh he hadn't heard in months. And one night, he asked her, softly, "Is there someone else?" She looked at him. The man she had once thought she would grow old with. And her silence was louder than any confession. Part 2, the quiet after. Daniel didn't raise his voice. He didn't cry. He just sat there for a long moment, staring at the woman he had spent nearly a decade loving, the one he had once imagined holding hands with in old age, arguing over what movie to watch on a quiet Sunday night. "I knew," he said finally. "Not the details. But I felt it." Emma opened her mouth, but no words came. What could she say? That she didn't mean to hurt him? That she still loved him, in a way? That it wasn't just about Alex, that it was about something hollow that had been growing between them for years? They slept in separate rooms that night. And the next. Conversations became practical. Polite. Chilly. It was as if they were housemates now, courteous strangers sharing a life that no longer belonged to them. A week later, Emma moved out. She rented a small apartment across town. It was quiet, with large windows and an old wooden floor that creaked in the morning. She told herself it was a fresh start. A chance to breathe. Alex came by sometimes. At first, it was exciting, stolen nights, whispered promises. But soon, something changed. Without the secrecy, the thrill faded. And when there was nothing to hide behind, Emma saw the cracks, not in Alex, but in herself. She had been searching for something. Passion, recognition, maybe even escape, and mistook it for love. Meanwhile, Daniel tried to carry on. He threw himself into work. Took up running. Spent more time with his brother, started reading again. But every now and then, he would come across something, a book Emma had loved, a song from one of their road trips, and feel that familiar ache press against his ribs. 3 months passed before they saw each other again. It was at a bookstore, of all places. Emma was browsing the poetry section. Daniel was picking up a gift for a colleague. They made eye contact. She smiled, gently. He nodded. For a moment, there was silence between them, not the cold silence of betrayal, but something softer. Sadder. Like two people remembering a language they once spoke fluently. Emma broke it first. "Hi," she said. "Hey," Daniel replied. And that was it. No dramatic reunion. No angry confrontation. Just two people who once shared everything now sharing a quiet, fragile moment in a place that used to mean something. They walked away from each other that day without promises or regrets, just an unspoken understanding. Some things break, and they don't always get fixed. But sometimes, you learn to live with the cracks. Part 3, A Year Without Us. A year had passed. Emma didn't count the days, not after the first few months. But there were markers, the anniversary of their wedding. She had gone for a long walk that day, the first snowfall. Daniel always made hot cocoa then, the day she found their old vacation photos on a USB stick tucked in a drawer. Her apartment no longer felt like a temporary space. She had added plants, hung curtains, started painting on weekends, nothing serious, just colors, just movement. She no longer waited for messages from Alex. That had ended, quietly, 6 months ago. It had fizzled out the way most things built on escape do. He was never meant to be a partner, just a mirror, reflecting what she wanted to see in herself at the time, someone still desirable, someone still alive. But love? No. That was something else entirely. Emma started therapy. It was hard at first. She hated the silence, hated how the questions dug beneath her skin. But slowly, she began to see patterns. Choices. Wounds she'd ignored. She realized how often she had swallowed her needs in the marriage, not because Daniel had silenced her, but because she had stopped speaking. And Daniel? He had changed too. He sold the apartment, too many ghosts in the corners. Moved into a smaller flat near the park. Adopted a dog. Started volunteering at a weekend coding camp for teenagers. And once a month, he'd meet up with friends and actually stay out past midnight, something he hadn't done in years. He wasn't angry anymore. He had been, for a while. Not just at Emma, but at himself. For not seeing it coming. For drifting. For mistaking peace for connection. But as the seasons shifted, so did his perspective. Their marriage wasn't a failure, just a chapter. A long, complicated, beautiful and broken chapter. One spring afternoon, nearly a year to the day since their bookstore encounter, Emma received a letter. Handwritten. From Daniel. I don't know why I'm writing this. Maybe just to say I'm okay. Maybe to say I hope you are too. I've thought a lot about us. What we had. What we lost. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not waiting for anything, either. I just wanted you to know that I remember the good things. And I'm grateful for them. I hope you're finding what you need, wherever you are. D. Emma held the letter in her hands for a long time. She didn't cry. She didn't rush to respond. She just sat by the window, the sun pouring across her lap, and let herself feel it all, the sorrow, the softness, the quiet grace of letting go. And in that moment, she knew. Some stories don't end with reconciliation. Some end with growth. With understanding. With peace. And that, too, is a kind of love. Epilogue, years later. 5 years had passed. Emma was now 37. She had left teaching and opened a small bookshop cafe by the river. A quiet little place with warm lighting, soft jazz in the mornings, and a shelf of poetry right by the window. She wasn't married. Not in a relationship either, not seriously. There had been a few connections, gentle and brief. But mostly, she had found comfort in solitude, in her routines, in the way her life finally felt like her own. One rainy Thursday afternoon, while unpacking a shipment of used books, she came across a copy of The Great Gatsby. Inside, on the title page, was a name written in faded blue ink. Daniel R. Blake. She smiled. The name still held weight, not pain, not longing, but memory. A part of her life that had shaped her, grown her, broken and rebuilt her. She traced the name with her finger, then placed the book on the personal picks shelf, where she kept titles that meant something to her. And in another part of the city, Daniel was walking his dog along the edge of the park. He had just finished a consulting project and was considering taking a sabbatical to travel. Something he'd always wanted to do when he was younger, but never had the time or freedom for. He passed by a couple holding hands and smiled to himself, not with envy, but with recognition. He had loved. Deeply. Lost. Painfully. And healed. They hadn't spoken since the letter. No need. But sometimes, when the weather changed, or when he passed a woman wearing Emma's old perfume, he thought of her. Not with regret. Not with anger. Just, softly. Two lives. Once intertwined, now gently parallel. Not every story ends with coming back together. Some end with becoming whole apart. And that, too, is a kind of happy ending. The end.